Good morning, Villa fans, and welcome to a Transfer Talk episode. Before I begin, I wanted to pass on my condolences to the family of Ozzy Osbourne. Obviously, a big Aston Villa fan, was in the kit release video last year, and sadly sort of passed away yesterday. I can't say I'm a massive fan of the music and stuff; it's not my thing. But he's a Villa fan, and he's another Holt ender in the sky. So rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne, and my condolences to the family before I start. So guys, welcome to a Transfer Talk. Today I wanted to have a chat about this transfer strategy at Aston Villa, what this guy in your picture, Monchi, is doing or not doing at the moment, and why Emery's face is looking like that a little bit at the moment. So I think we're all, we're all in the picture about what the situation is. Aston Villa are not sort of dealing with the PSR side of things. They're dealing with this sort of the SCR side of things, which is to do with the squad wages ratio thing, basically. So Aston Villa last season, I believe had a 92% sort of squad ratio percentage, which basically means that we were paying really, really sky high wages to our paid players. So what we need to do at the moment is not just sell players like Jacob Ramsey. We don't need the sort of the pure profit for the PSR side of things. We need to offload players who are on high salaries. So that's why you've seen the likes of Emi Martinez linked with moves away. He's obviously a big salary earner on about 130, 140 grand a week, I think it is. Jacob Ramsey been linked away as well. He's on about 75 grand a week. But the big problems are is that we've got players and we bought in players, especially in that loan window in January, Disasi, Rashford and Asensio. And we really took a huge gamble on sort of getting Champions League football. That was the aim. And ultimately, that final day defeat against Man United, the ramifications of that are truly hitting home at the moment. Everyone knew it was big that we missed out on Champions League football. But the fact of it is it's really stunting us sort of in the transfer market at the moment. So we need to sell players like Dendoncker, who's on like 90 grand a week, apparently. Buendia, 75 grand a week. Those two are the big earners that are not really. Digne perhaps can fall into that category at 120 grand a week as well. We need to offload one of those guys. So Martinez, Digne, Buendia, Dendoncker. But then it's just about finding teams that are willing to take them on. Nobody's going to walk away from like Dendoncker 90 grand a week when he's not going to get anywhere near that if he does move. The players, you can't blame the players as such, but this was obviously business that was done in the Dendoncker, Steven Gerrard era, getting him in from Wolves and giving him a great salary, which obviously no one's going to turn down. So, it's that side of things. I'll give credit to the Heart of Holt podcast. I think it's Dan who was sort of explaining this pretty well. But yeah, it's the SCR side of things, not the PSR side of things that Villa need to align with. We have got transfer links sort of coming up and coming in as well. And I'll talk about these players that are in the along the bottom of your screen. And we've been linked with a Swiss striker as well in the last sort of 24 hours. We have requested data on him, and we have sort of had initial kind of brief opening chats with Monaco about Breel Embolo, a Swiss striker who is available now for £13 million, apparently. 28 years of age. I couldn't believe that when I heard it. He seems to be around for years. I'm sure he played in the 1994 World Cup. He seems to be one of those players that burst on the scene at 16. He's 28. The thing about him is that he's a big physical striker, but he has had a heck of an injury record. He has missed quite a few games. I think cruciate ligament injuries, really big injuries, but he seems to be bouncing back from those, but getting kind of, not limited kind of game time at the moment at Monaco, in and out of the team a bit. I think maybe a move to Villa and being a backup striker would suit him down to the ground because you wouldn't be relied on to play week in, week out. He can play across the line. He's a multifunctional striker. He can play on the wings as well if need be. But, he could be that striker that could come in every now and then. And maybe that would suit him as well. Obviously coming back from serious injuries and being kind of injury prone a little bit as well. Not going to cost a lot of money. And he is a striker that Aston Villa have now requested data on. I know that through a reliable source of mine. So he is someone that's on the list, basically. Initial kind of conversations, but that's as far as it's gone at the moment. But what I really wanted to talk about was obviously Monchi as well, and what we're doing sort of transfer strategy wise at the moment. So we've obviously brought in quite a lot of young players, up and coming sort of teenagers, the likes of Redmond and Yaskin Oskan. Keba Cisse just joined the club as well. So we are looking at sort of the young up and coming players. Obviously brought in Bizzo, who's the other end of that at 34 years of age, but an experienced head. But it's the it's the business that Monchi has done since he's been here that you kind of have to look at a little bit, and it's been a bit hit and miss, if we're honest with you. So I've got some stats here and things. I mean, Monchi arrived in July 23. I think he was coming in from the 16th of June, but I think he actually started on the 1st of July, something like that, basically. So 1st of July 2023. So he's now been here for 2 years. He's got another year to run on his contract at Villa, expires next year. And there's been links that he's looking to get away. And I think maybe even Fenerbahce are sniffing around him as their potential head of football. But obviously he has a really strong relationship with Vidigani and Emery. So I'm not sure. But, if we go through the transfers that he's been here, I mean, I'm not going to include people like Yuri Tillemans on this one. I think Yuri Tillemans was an Unai Emery signing. So Monchi was appointed on the 16th of June, but officially started the role on the 1st of July. Tillemans signed on the 1st of July. So I think that signing was already in the pipeline before Monchi came to the club. So I'm not going to count sort of Yuri on that one. I also think Morgan Rogers was an Unai Emery signing. I think Unai Emery saw him play for Borough against Chelsea and then against us. And he really stood out in those games, and I think Emery saw a lot of potential in him. So I think Morgan Rogers and Yuri Tillemans, I don't think they go down as Monchi signings. I think those are Unai Emery signings for me. So if we look at the signings that we've made under Monchi, and some of these are grim, I'll be honest with you. I've got a list here saying Lewis Dobbin, 9 million. Now I know that we gave them Timur Bunam as a straight swap deal, but separate deals basically in PSR. But Dobbin, nowhere near sort of first team quality, going to be moved on soon, hopefully. And that was just literally a PSR loophole that we wanted to expose. And obviously Everton, helped us out, and we helped them out basically. Ian Martin, 37 million. Obviously, we saw Amari Kellerman going the other way to Chelsea at 19 million, which basically meant that we paid sort of 17 million for Martin. So that one is still up for debate. He's just turning the corner now and getting regular football, so you could probably say that Martin is a hit. But I think the Premier League have now sort of stepped in and looking at some of the transfer dealings that Chelsea and Villa are doing, and those inflated kind of player valuations, because there's no way that Amari Kellerman is worth 19 million, and we managed to get that for him. So Illing Jr. And Enzo Barrenechea, part of the Dougie Luiz deal. Obviously, we needed that deal done. So you've got to give Monchi some credit in that respect. But Illing Jr., apparently his value in that deal was worth 11 million and Enzo was worth 6.7. We haven't seen Enzo put on a Villa shirt in a competitive game, and he's just joined Benfica on loan. Illing Jr., several loan spells in Bologna and then Middlesbrough. Really yet to kick on at Aston Villa, but still has potential, has time. So let's see where that one goes. But you'd have to say that's a miss, and so is Enzo, a miss. Ross Barkley, 5 million from Luton. Experienced player, scored a couple of important goals for us. So I'm going to say that was a hit for 5 million for Ross Barkley. And then we had Jaden Philogene Badace, obviously bought back from Ipswich. Bought back from Hull and then sold on to Ipswich. 18 million we paid to get him back in, and he didn't do anything. So for me, massive flop in it, and you forget about him. Amadou Onana, who just celebrated a year at Villa, 50 million. Congratulations, Amadou. 50 million, though, a lot of money. Obviously, the replacement for Dougie Luiz. Has he proved good value for money? Still got time. He's 23 years of age. Is he a first-team player for us when everyone's fit? No. Tielemans and Kamara take those two spaces for me. So 50 million for him, for you could probably say is a very good backup and a rotation player. But at the moment, there's a question mark about Amadou Onana, given the hefty price tag. So that one's a question mark for me. Daniel Marlon, 21 million from Dortmund. Again, question mark. Not had enough minutes. When he has played, he's had scored some goals. Looks quite good. Needs to be given more of a chance. But at this moment in time, question mark is over him. Andres Garcia, 6 million from Levante in second division of Spain. Not really given that much of a run. Still getting used to the pace of the Premier League, I think, and adapting to a new life and a new culture. So again, question mark on Andres Garcia for me. And then you obviously looked at Disasi and Rashford and Asensio coming in January. On the face of it, you could say Disasi, no, wasn't good. Had that one good game against Brentford. Apart from that, didn't do well. And then obviously was done against Manchester City, and they scored that last minute goal, which ultimately put pay to our Champions League hopes. So Disasi was a flop, I would say. Rashford, yes, I think he was a success. Came in, contributed, got himself back into the England team, got his confidence back, proved a danger for us, especially in that PSG game. It was phenomenal, I thought, at Villa Park. So you could say that Rashford was, but then obviously we brought him on huge wages, and that has now contributed to the SCR side of things. So he was a success on the pitch. Off the pitch, it's now caused us a problem. And Asensio, again, loan signing, started off like a house on fire, absolutely terrific, banging in goals for fun. And then after the Southampton game, I think it was, where he missed a couple of penalties, missed that big chance against PSG as well, didn't he? Wasn't quite the same towards the end of the season. And the thing with Asensio is that he could only play in that one position in that number 10 role, which basically meant that Morgan Rogers was pushed out to the right, which saw Morgan Rogers' form fall off a cliff as well towards the end of the season. So Asensio, you've got to say, it was a big gamble. It started off well, but then it didn't go too well in the end. 29 years of age. We weren't going to make that a permanent signing. So, no, I'm not sure about that. Diaby obviously came in as well for us. 55 million. Scored some goals for us. Scored in his debut, some important goals. But I would say basically Diaby was a question mark, I would say. I'm not going to say he was a hit. Had a very good chant. But I can't put him down as a hit. I can't put him down as a flop. I put him down as a question mark. And we sold him on for a bit of a profit. Got our money back for him, basically. Pau Torres, 33 million. Probably one of Monchi's early on signings. I've got 33 million. I'm not sure that's right. I think I might be in dollars. I think I might be like 27, I think it was, maybe paid for him. Obviously, question marks about him at the moment, but I think all in all, he has been a huge success. He's changed the way that we play, changed the way we build up from the back. So for me, Pau Torres gets a big thumbs up from me anyway, in terms of being a really good player. So yeah, I do like him. John Duran also as well is a very, very good player. Picked him up from Chicago Fire. I think it was about 15 million or something in the end that we got for him. Scored some excellent goals for us. So important as well. Some really, really important goals. So yeah, I think he was a success. Pushed Ollie Watkins all the way as well. And then obviously we've sold him on to Saudi for a huge profit. And now he's ended up at Fenerbahce and missed the first day of training with Mourinho. So already upsetting Jose there. But you have to say that John Duran was a successful signing. So as I said, there are a lot of hit and misses here when it comes to Monchi's business that he's done. Forgetting about Clement Longley as well. We had him on loan, and you could pay. He did a job for us. Question mark is what I would say about that. Really. So that's my thoughts on him. But what I wanted to talk about is that Monchi was obviously, before he joined us, he was at Sevilla. Before he joined them, he was at Roma. And I've got a friend of mine who's a Roma fan, and we were talking about Monchi's time at Roma, and how basically Roma are still suffering to this day from his disastrous spell there in charge of football, and his transfer dealings that he did, which I'll touch upon a little bit here. So Monchi at Roma, Roma had a pretty good team, and they ended up selling some of their really, really, really big players. People like Mo Salah, for example, was moved on for I think it was 45 million to Liverpool. Obviously, Roma wanted to keep him. They got rid of Alisson as well to Liverpool for 75 million. So the fees are really good. But then I'll come on to the replacements. But yeah, so Alisson, 75 million apparently to Liverpool. Salah was 50 million. They got rid of Rudiger who's cemented himself in the Real Madrid team and doing really well for the German national team. And do you know who he brought in to replace Alisson as the goalkeeper at Roma? I'm not going to believe this. He spent 8 million on Robin Olsen from Copenhagen to come in and replace Alisson as Roma's number one. I think he only lasted a few months, and it was evident that he was not up to it. Number of gaffes, number of errors led to him being loaned out, I think, before the end of the season that he joined. And they got rid of Kevin Strootman as well to Marseille, who was a big player in the changing room for them, a big personality. And they never really recovered from selling those guys. So Strootman, Alisson, Salah, Rudiger, those types of players. And there was more. There was loads more. And then the players that he kind of brought in was the likes of, I mean, he went down the sort of the older experience route, like Javier Pastore. For those of you who remember him from PSG, brought him in as a 29-year-old to play as a playmaker. This is a guy who plays in a free role, but Roma do not play with free role players. And he was brought in at 25 million. I think he only made like 30 appearances and absolutely flopped. Injuries. They brought in Patrick Schick, who was a Czech Republic up-and-coming striker. Spent 38 million on him. I think it's still their club record signing to now. And this is when they had Edin Dzeko banging in 39 goals in the previous season. So they really need to bring in another striker. So again, he wasted a lot of money. So 25 million on Pastore, 38 million on Patrick Schick, who again was loaned out the following season and went back to, I think it was Leipzig or something. Steven Nzonzi, I think he's Blackburn or Stoke City or whatever he was. He was 29 at the time, and he spent 26 million on Steven Nzonzi to come in and replace Strootman in midfield. And that just was a disaster as well. And then Justin Kluivert as well, who's picked up a little bit at Bournemouth now, but really struggled with when he was younger in Serie A. And he paid 17 million for Justin Kluivert, who really didn't do anything as well. So what I'm trying to say is that Monchi was basically marched out of Roma. I don't think he'll be welcome back there at all. But his business, and he has this reputation of being this transfer guru and identifying players left, right, and centre. Yeah, he did a good job at Sevilla and maybe Villarreal, where the budgets are really, really less. But when it comes to Roma, and if you look at the Aston Villa business as well that he's done, it's 50-50, isn't it? It's questionable. There's a lot of hits. There's a few misses. There's a lot of misses in there as well. And right now, what we're looking at is, he's looking at younger, up-and-coming players. What are we today? We're 23rd of July. We're soon to depart for the US tour, which gets underway at the weekend. You would have hoped to have had some incoming players there on the tour to embed them into the team, live with the players, get used to the environment, all that sort of stuff. But we haven't got anyone yet at the moment that's really sort of first team ready. Apart from Bizzo, who's probably the only kind of player. But, we need some players. We need some players out. And we've been linked with, obviously, Jack Grealish, who's in your picture in your thumbnail here. For me, yes, every day of the week. I just think there's unfinished business there. I think him coming back to Villa, you would see a massive attitude change in him. Yeah, I think you'd see him really, really kick on. I think Unai Emery would be the manager to get Jack firing again and get him back into the England reckoning and get him back into the World Cup squad for next year. I really think that could happen, but I think it would be something that goes late into the window. Aston Villa's strategy at the moment, I mean, you can compare it to going to a nightclub, turning up, seeing a 10 out of 10, baddie girl, and then thinking, okay, I'm gonna have a couple of drinks, get a bit lively, and then you go looking around the nightclub for her and you don't find her. And then you have a few more drinks and it gets to like 2 a.m. and you're like heading off to the dance floor and you're seeing what's left. That's what Villa are at the moment. We're just seeing what's left. It looks like we're going to leave our business till the end. Yes, we might be able to pull off one or two loan deals again, like the Rashfords and Asensio levels, and we might surprise a few there. But what's going to be left? A lot of business gets done in the summer window. There are not many very, very good players left on the shelf now. Rashford's just about to complete his move to Barca. Garnacho is there, but we've been sniffing around Garnacho. I would be happy with Garnacho. I think we do need some pace. We do need some players with direct running, and he can do that. Yes, he's got a bit of an attitude problem, but I think Emery would get the best out of him. So yeah, I do think he would. So I think Garnacho would be a yes for me. Absolutely. But it depends on the transfer fee as well. 40 million. We would need to sell a Buendia, a Dendoncker, or a Digne to get them out of the squad, to get them out off the wage bill before Garnacho can come in. So that's where we are at the moment. We're trying to sell some players to get some squad spaces available. Nicholas Jackson, no, not for me. Please not. I know he's 22 years of age. He's still quite young. He's worked with Emery before. He has scored goals in the Premier League, but I just think his game and just the way he is it just doesn't suit Villa. And the transfer fee that Chelsea are looking for him is so high, like 80 million. I mean, oh my God, no way, absolutely no way. And then I move on to Embolo, who I mentioned just before, 13 million. I think he'd be a good backup striker. I think he would be happy with that kind of role in the squad at Villa. He has got that injury record, which is worrying, but I think he would be a good backup. And if we needed someone to back up him, we've still got Marlon who can play as a striker as well. So I think someone like Embolo would be a good, sensible signing for us. I don't think he'd cost the earth in wages, saying that he is at Monaco, which obviously is probably a high-paying club. But I think someone like that would be a sensible kind of signing. I can't believe he's only just 28. So yeah, he could be someone that could come in and out of the team for me. And then Denzel Dumfries apparently has this release clause in his contract until the end of July. So another week to go on that. 25 million apparently. I can't believe that he'd come to Villa, to be fair. I mean, he would be a dream signing at right back. He would be absolutely terrific and help us, with our Dutch contingent again. But I can't see him coming to Villa. I think someone else is going to come in and nick him. Someone like a Man City or Man United. I don't know. Just someone else will come in for him if that is true in terms of his release clause, or he just stays put at Inter. Obviously, Inter have got a new manager now, so maybe it's time for him to move on to new challenge. But I can't see him coming to Villa. I don't know. I would love him to come to Villa, but I just can't see it happening. So yeah, the strategy is at the moment buying young players, looking at the market. There are some experienced players that we are looking at. I did hear about Jamie Vardy, perhaps a free agent, being linked with Villa yesterday. Maybe wait until later on in the window, but I've got a feeling that someone might snap him up in the Championship, or maybe a Celtic or a Rangers might look at him. So that's my kind of feeling around Jamie Vardy. Although I think he would probably be the best option out of the free agent strikers at the moment. So you're looking at Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Callum Wilson, Danny Ings, or Jamie Vardy. If you give me a choice out of those four, I probably would take Jamie Vardy. But again, wages, he's on about 100k plus, or he was at Leicester. He would need to take a significant pay drop to join Villa and be that kind of last 20-minute sort of striker, basically. Because he did play quite a bit for Leicester last season. You have to say he played like 38 games, I think. So he's still got fitness in his legs. Obviously, he's lost a yard or two of pace, but he can still run in behind for the last 10 or 15 minutes. But for me, that would be a last resort. I'd rather see someone like Embolo, for example. And there aren't very many other strikers that are coming to the fore at the moment. So be interesting to hear your thoughts, guys. But I'm going to leave it there. Anyway, guys, do subscribe to the channel. I will come back at you with some more transfer news as soon as it drops, as soon as the rumors start heating up. As I said, I'm not claiming to be in the know. Absolutely not. But I've got friends and contacts who work in sort of data analysts, and they work with football clubs. And Breel Embolo is a name that has Aston Villa have requested information on. That's as far as it's gone. So yeah, anyway, guys, like, subscribe, comment. Who do you want to see at Aston Villa? At any of these 5 targets at the bottom, on your kind of wish list? If so, let me know. Jamie Vardy, yes or no? Who else do you want to see? Until the next one, guys, have a good day. Bye for now.